Going up in smoke, going up in smoke. We ain't got no hope because we're going up in smoke. Shout out to the late great Eddie Kendricks for that track back in the early 1970s. Yes, that was the theme song for the Chicago Bears yesterday as they get stumped by the Detroit Lions in Motown by the score of 52-21. We'll give you the ugly details coming up. We have one significant injury and one game that was nearly an upset down in Big D. We'll tell you about that in our NFL Power Hour. In baseball, the Chicago Cubs won another series, moving them a step closer to clinching a wild card spot. On the south side, it was not pretty as it gets swept by the Cleveland Guardians. We'll review college football as the Illinois Fighting Illini climb up to be one of the country's top 10 teams. In time permitting, we'll have a special anniversary edition of Old School TV Monday. That and a whole lot more. So Monday extravaganza edition of Second City Sports starts right now. Welcome to another Monday extravaganza edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded and we're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago. Along with Miss LaKeena McGee, which is she. I am Sidney Brown. You better know it's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and again at IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We're located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are located on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions, do know our 2-hour extravaganza we call the Sports Talk Radio Show. You can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you. But decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, like Caleb Williams did yesterday. Giving LaKeena full powers to give you dumbos to build a boot. But before we begin, shout out to our live game. That's LIVE Live Entertainment Game. That's checking us out on our Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube pages at 12:23 p.m. Central Standard Time. But let's not forget much love to the replay game that's checking us out on the replay, also on our Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube pages. Don't you ever forget our motto, whether we talk sports, music, or entertainment, we will always provide.
We provide you with some of the best around Second City Sports. Of course, we'll have our studs and duds. We talk about the rest of the NFL Week 2. One significant injury could derail a team's division chances. And also, of course, we got a double dose of Old School TV Monday, as these two shows are well-known, well-famous, and are still very popular to this day. College football, as there were some statement games right before some big matchups on Saturday. The Cubs' magic number for clinching a playoff spot is now 4, and things are getting a little bit tight in some parts, while the White Sox, well, just we thought that maybe they were starting to look up, but it all kind of derailed a little bit thanks to the trip to Cleveland. That and so much more. But first, Sid, the good, you take the good, you take the bad. Well, you take one, we will take both. Well, more the latter, of more the former, I should say. And there you have, no, not the facts of life that we've done for Old School TV Monday, but the 2025 Chicago Bears, at least so far, as the Bears just got boat raced by the Lions. And it seemed like this game was personal. That's what kind of felt like. Now, granted, the Bears they scored on the opening drive again for the second straight game. They also, traded scores with the Lions for a little bit, but the Lions kicked it up a notch. Jared Goff had 5 TD passes, 334 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, and David Montgomery combined for about a little over 150 yards and a TD apiece. Ron St. Brown, if you had him on your fantasy team, I'm sure you had a nice day yesterday. He had 115 yards and 3 TDs. On the flip side for the Bears, Roma Dunze, though, did have 128 yards and 2 TD catches. So, but unfortunately, Caleb Williams got sacked 4 times. And there were some fumbles, and it was scoring, and then it's and a lot of insults to injury, if you will. And I've been hearing some of all the weird stuff. But Sid, I'll let you have the floor, my friend. So let it rip.
While I was watching the game with some friends of mine yesterday, wherever energy that I had for that game, it was gone after the halftime. I'll start off with the bad just to get out of my system. Even though Caleb did look good in that first half, especially on that opening drive that you mentioned, he went back to his old ways, trying to run out the pocket, trying to force the action, and he got picked up a couple of times, which was not good. DeAndre Swift, we got off the bus running in that first half, but I cannot blame Ben Johnson for this one because the more the Lions scored, the more that the game plan for running the ball was taken out of Coach Johnson's hands. Number 3, Jalen Johnson and TJ Edwards, both of them returned to the lineup yesterday for the defense, and both of them got re-injured. Do you question the Bears' medical staff, or do you question the coaching staff with those guys returning too soon, even though this was a big game? That's something that we got to investigate throughout this week. It may affect with one or both of them returning. If they return to the lineup for next week's game against Dallas, we have to watch out for that. Number 4, I did not see any sacks. I did see one sack. That was by Montez Sweat, but it was negated by a penalty. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, I did not see any sacks yesterday from this Bears defense. And that's very troubling, even though they had 3 the previous week in their home opening loss against Minnesota. Number 5, where was Luther Wright? I saw Carson Loveland on the field yesterday, but I didn't see them getting any significant playing time. And some of the other draft picks like not Shamar Moore, ladies, but just Shamar Wright.
Shamar Stewart.
I know it's going to score his brother's name. Yeah, thank
Stewart.
you. Yeah, he was inactive. You want to tell me that the rookies that you drafted from this past year's draft that was supposed to make a contribution, they're not that good? Really? And they're inactive? There's a whole plethora of things that we need to investigate, LaKeena. And all of it came to a head yesterday. Yes, there's enough blame to go around. I'm not going to do the blame pie thing. Who gets the most blame for it? It's equal all around today. And I know Ben Johnson was snippy after the game yesterday at the press. I know some of y'all want to question Ryan Poles, and rightfully so. This was just UGLY yesterday, LaKeena, and I don't know how this gets fixed quick enough to be competitive next week against the Cowboys. I know I had to remind myself, and I had to remind the rest of you out there in podcast land, for those of you who are watching and listening. Yes, the first 2 weeks of the season is overreaction, but I don't think this is an overreaction, LaKeena. We've seen this over the last several years. How the Bears come out to start a season. Yesterday, it just didn't look good, and I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. How does it get better enough to go compete against the Dallas Cowboys next weekend? Only your 3rd home game of the year. The first your second home game of the first 3 weeks of the season. How does this get better enough to go compete and save face? I don't know.
Oh, we get a number 1 team for Fox. So we get Tom Brady. Now, if he gets on the verge of swearing, I already played out the over/under on how many times it's gonna be this close to swearing. Like, what the f? But he drops the f word sometimes himself. But that's neither here nor there. We'll talk about that on Friday. Listen, Second C Sports on Sports on LaKeena McGee Sidney Brown with you. Okay, all right. Let's start with this. 611 yards total offense that the Bears defense gave up. 611 total yards. This vaunted Dennis Allen defense. You can say that. Look, TJ Edwards got hurt, and re-injured, his hamstring, and now, of course, you got Jalen Johnson re-injuring his groin. Looks like they might be gone for multiple weeks. We'll see. You wonder that, okay, maybe the Bears probably tried a little too hard to try to push those guys out there where they probably were not 100%. Okay. And Kirby Joseph had an interception. Well, they actually did the defense in celebration. Actually ran one of Ben Johnson's plays, and it felt very, like I said, it felt very personal. Like especially in that fourth, in that when at the end of the second, at the first half, second quarter, actually the first half. Now, of course, now you can debate whether you want whether or not that I think it was Brock Wright who caught that ball, stayed in bounds. You can make an
Oh,
assumption
that
of
was
that,
Tesla, the third string tight end.
Isaac Tesla. You can debate whether or not they should have been time left, but the fact that they went into the locker room, they should have came in and you know what? Oh, you know what? Let's score a touchdown. What the heck? Why not? I mean, it was just one of those things where you're just like, okay, what? And then it just like it seems like I don't want to say the team quit, but it kind of did. And check out these stats, Sid. Shout out to our girl Lily Rahimi, who she's on there with our other buddies, Marshall Harris and Mark Grody, on their midday show on the Score. And she posted a really cool video on her social media. You guys check that out. Ryan Poles now 15-38 during his tenure in Chicago. And after he famously said, we're going to take the North, you're going to take the North and not give it back. Well, they're now 3-16 since that. So, I mean, it's sort of one of those things where like there's plenty of blame to go around. You wonder, like, you don't want to say that, oh, well, did the Bears kind of overhype themselves by bringing in Ben Johnson? Is it the personnel? Is it this? Is it that? But it's just like, you know what? At this point, I think like everybody needs to take some blame here. You probably say the personnel isn't there, fine. But I think for me, it's just that this team is exactly who you thought they were, as the great Denny Green would say. So, it's just like I'm at that point where I'm just like, okay, whatever. Oh, you get to play Dallas next week. Well, I mean, the Matt Eberflus revenge game, remember, he's now the DC over with the Cowboys now. I know they have their own issues, but you don't think he's going to, have this game circled, had this game circled, and probably like, okay, so, it is what it is with this team, but
I just got a couple more nuggets before we head out for this bottom of the hour break. Speaking of, I saw that later Rahimi video, by the way. Ryan Poles' winning percentage is just barely worse than last year's 2024 Chicago White Sox historic record in the modern era. So think about that for a second. Check out these statistics. You gave up 700 total yards through the first 2 weeks if you're the Bears defense, and you gave up a total of combined 73 points. As you mentioned, where's Dennis Allen? Where's the pass rush? Where's a consistent pass rush without an occasional blitz? We haven't seen any. So, like I said, how does this get turned around to be competitive against Dallas next week? I don't know. And I know many people want to call for Ben Johnson's job. He just got here. He's not going anywhere. So deal with it, folks. Ryan Poles, should he be questioned? Yes. Was that a weird contract extension that he received from the Bears this offseason? Yes. Logistically, we understood why that was given, because to link himself with Ben Johnson. But I said this for over the offseason. I'll say it again. If the Bears don't make the playoffs this year or next year, he'll be gone. How can you justify that record you just read to us? And this will be year number, I think it's year number 4, LaKeena, if I'm not mistaken, coming into this year. That's okay. Next year, if they don't make the playoffs, assuming they don't make the playoffs this year, which I don't think they will, but let's say they don't make the playoffs again next year, you have 5 going on 6 years with no playoff appearances. If there's any other professional sports team that has a GM that's posting a piss poor record like that, that GM would have been gone a long time ago. Only in Chicago we cannot have nice things. And when competence is rewarded, you get the results that you've been getting. And this is what it looks like right now. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2025 Chicago Bears.
Now we'll talk some actual good football after the break as we get to the rest of the week. Yeah, exactly. After the rest of the weekend, NFL Week 2 includes a couple of surprises, some crazy finishes, a statement by the defending champs, and the significant injury that could derail a team's playoff chances. Maybe. Well, we'll talk about that coming up next. And also Suds and Does as well, and previewing the doubleheader Monday night tonight. LaKeena McGee, Sidney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. Our NFL Power Hour continues right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Oops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey Maggette, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to the Monday Extravaganza edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. LaKeena McGee is she. Sidney Brown here is me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and IG.
And we're going to hop around the league to recap yesterday's Week 2 action from the National Football League. So any questions or comments regarding the rest of the games from the NFL from yesterday, and or you have any leftover Bears thoughts, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
All right, so let's go to Cincy first because this is a big injury that occurred here. 31-17, the Bengals came back thanks to a Jake Browning rushing TD to beat the Jags. And, well, why was Browning out there was because Joe Burrow suffered an injury to his toe. He was diagnosed with a turf toe. He had surgery early this morning. He's going to be out for 3 months. But unfortunately, he won't be able to play against the Bears, so it might be a little bit big for the Bears there. We'll see. But he overcame a couple of interceptions. He actually ended up 33 interceptions, 241 yards, 2 TDs, and he also, like I said, he had that rushing TD from the one. Jamar Chase had a TD and 165 receiving yards. T. Higgins had a TD catch as well. Trevor Lawrence, 3 touchdown passes, 271 yards, and 2 interceptions. Travis Etienne, Jr., 71 rushing yards. unfortunately, Sid, with this game, it was kind of like, they didn't make the plays. Like I'm talking about the Jags. I mean, they had they went for it on 4th and 3, didn't get it, and that's what led the Bengals down the field to score that go-ahead touchdown.
Did you check out that catch by Mitchell Tinsley early in
Yes.
the game? Oh, that was an awesome catch. I know through the first 2 weeks of the season that you could nominate that as the catch of the year. Now, with Joe Burrow's injury, I know this has been, I think, the second time in his young career that he's been injured. He's going to miss significant time. I know he missed some significant time during his original rookie year during the COVID year in 2020. And so that was devastating for the Cincinnati Bengals right there. But Jake Browning, I think he'll hold down the fort, but that Bengals offense won't be the same. And I think that they'll have to rely on the run game just a little bit more with Chase Brown, former Final Illini standout. But on the other side of the ball, that defense that has been questioned for the last, 2 or 3 years, that defense for the Bengals must step up. And we'll see what they made of now that they're going to be without Burrow for the next 3 months.
It's going to be interesting what Zach Taylor and the Bengals do. So we'll see. I mean, Brian's been around for a little bit, so you got to think that maybe he might be able to hold it down for them for the first couple of months. But we'll see. Now, off to Nashville we go as the Rams, again, not pretty, but again, they got the win 33-19 over the Titans. Matt Stafford had 298 yards and 2 TDs. Puka Nacua had a rushing TD, and Blake Corum, shout out to him, the rookie from Michigan. He got his first rushing TD, his first TD of his career. Dante Adams, 106 yards and a TD catch as well. On the flip side for Titans, Cam Ward, look, he had his moments, 175 yards and a TD. Tony Pollard had 92 rushing TDs, but Ward unfortunately was sacked 5 times. And that kind of what kind of made the difference in that game for them. Of course, Byron Young was the culprit. He led the way for the Rams with 2 sacks of those 5 sacks.
Yeah, this is a Rams team, and many people predicted to win the NFC West, perhaps represent the NFC in the Super Bowl in February. If you're a good team and the team wants to be taken seriously as a contender, you beat the teams that you're supposed to be. That's what the Rams did yesterday. They struggled last week in their home opener, even though they won against the Houston Texans. The offense opened up. Matthew Stafford with 2 touchdown passes. Devontae Adams welcomed himself officially as a LA Ram with those 6 catches, 106 yards in the score. So the Rams were the better team yesterday, and this is what you do with contending teams. You beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, and you beat them convincingly.
All right, off to Baltimore, back to the AFC North. Off to Baltimore where we go as the Ravens pulled away from the Browns. They scored 21 fourth quarter points to pull away from them. 41-17. Lamar Jackson had 225 yards and 4 TDs. Derrick Henry only 23 rushing yards, I should say. The Devontae Walker did have 2 of those TD catches from Lamar Jackson, and DeAndre Hopkins, who I think people forgot that he's with the Ravens now, had a TD catch as well. On the flip side, Joe Flacco, he had his struggles, only 25 for 45 for 199 yards, a TD and an interception. He was actually Dylan Gabriel, speaking of a rookie, came in, threw a TD pass, but it was in garbage time. And Quishon Judkins, of course, his debut, 61 rushing yards for the Browns. But yeah, kind of a slow start for the Ravens. I don't know if it's because they're afraid that Derrick Henry will drop the ball after what happened against Buffalo, but even still, I guess it's not about style points at this point of the season. So you just take the win if you're at Baltimore.
Yeah, maybe Baltimore were playing down to their opponent as well. Who knows? But like you said, a win is a win is a win. 21 unanswered points in the fourth quarter for the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, he busted out with his best performance of the year to this point. The Browns, their defense did keep them in it for a while, at least through that to the first 2.5 quarters, and then the Ravens exploded in the fourth. So just like we talked about with the Rams just a second ago, Baltimore, however you looked at, they got over their loss last week at Buffalo with a dominating win against their division opponent at home. So even up their record at 1-1.
Now going to the AFC East, if you will, and it was all the Buffalo as they beat the Jets 30-10. Josh Allen got a little banged up. He got a bloody nose, but he was all good. He threw for 148 yards. Mitchell Trubisky had to come in. But it was all James Cook. Let him cook, as we always say. 132 yards and 2 rushing TDs for them. Tyrod Taylor, had to come in for Justin Fields because he suffered a concussion. He did do a touchdown pass, but it was in garbage time. The game was already out of hand by that point. And incidentally, though, 25-6 since 2021. The Bills are 25-6, while the Jets fall to 4-26. It kind of a flip side there with the best and the worst of the in the AFC East. So it was all Bills. So no letdown from that last week's game against the Ravens.
Yeah, the Bills showed who was the class of the AFC East. They were dominant from start to finish. Josh Allen didn't have to be at his best because, like you said, he was supported by the running game, and the defense chipped in as well, knocking Justin Fields out for the game. So we'll see what happens. Tyrod Taylor was brought in for a reason. Aaron Glenn has some work to do. If Fields is out for any extended period of time, yes, Tyrod Taylor's been around for a long while now, but he doesn't bring that same dynamic as Justin Fields does. So we'll see how the Jets play this. Their defense has been tested so far, and in my opinion, it gets a big fat L. 30+ points given up in the first 2 games.
Yeah, just brutal there for could be a long season once again for the Jets. We'll see what happens there now. If you had the over in this game between the Patriots and the Jets, I guess you had a nice start to your afternoon yesterday. 33-27, the Patriots hold off the Dolphins. 230 yards and 2 TDs for Mr. Drake May. Ramondre Stevenson had 54 rushing yards. He also had 88 receiving yards. Tua Tagovailoa had 2 TD passes, but he had a bad interception to Mate Mapu, and unfortunately that kind of killed whatever Dolphins' chance of having perhaps maybe winning this game.
It's nice to see Tyreek Hill on the stat sheet. 6 catches for 109 yards. Tua Tagovailoa had a nice performance, 315 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. The Dolphins did play better. They put up more points than the Bears yesterday. You can say that much. But the Patriots, as we talked about last week on the show, they let one get away against the Las Vegas Raiders in their home opener. Despite giving up that punt return for a touchdown, the Patriots stayed focused, and they did the little things they had to do down the stretch to pull off the 6-point win.
Yeah, Malik Washington had that 74-yard punt return for TD, as well as Antonio Gibson. He returned the kickoff for 90 yards for a TD. If you saw, there was a video of him as he was running. You saw Mike Brady kind of like running like side by side with him. So if you haven't seen that photo, yeah, you should check it out. It was definitely the newest meme. But yeah, nice win for the Patriots. I should say the Dolphins. Like I said, it could be a long season for the folks down there at South Beach. Could Mike McDaniel be getting ready to get his paint slip and link card probably later on if they don't get it going? What do you think?
Well, they host the Buffalo Bills on Thursday, so it's going to tell a lot of what this team is made of and during a short week. So we'll see what happens.
All right, San Francisco and New Orleans as we go down to the Bayou. This is actually a pretty interesting game. 26-21, the 49ers beat the Saints. Mac Jones had 279 yards and 3 TDs. Probably his best performance, outside, in the Patriots uniform. Christian McCaffrey had 55 rushing yards. Juwan Jennings had one of those TD catches. McCaffrey had the other one of the other TD catches as well for the 49ers. Spencer Rattler, on the other hand, for the Saints, 3 TDs, 207 yards. Alvin Kamara had 99 rushing yards. And again, not the prettiest game for San Francisco, but I guess for Kyle Shanahan and his crew, you'll take the win. I mean, I know all the injuries that they've had and such. Purdy's going to be out for multiple weeks. Kill's going to be out for multiple weeks. But again, you take the win. So you can take however you can get it.
Now, if you had the over/under total in this game, if you had the over, you're really living life good. But I expect both these teams to score that many points yesterday, given the fact that the Saints are struggling, they're rebuilding, and the 49ers with those multiple injuries to the key stars, as you mentioned. Also. But Mac Jones didn't do too much, 279 yards passing and 3 touchdowns, and the defense did its job to keep the Saints at bay. So yes, I know they gave up 21 points, but they didn't give the Saints any confidence. So the 49ers, they were still the better team than the Saints. That's why I took them in our picks on Friday. So they came out with a 5-point win on the road to move their record to 2-0.
And they got an interesting game against the Cardinals. Remember, the Cardinals swept them last year, so I'm sure they're going to want their revenge. So we'll talk about that game and the other games as we go into Friday. Now, probably one of the games of the week that I don't think anybody thought would be the games of the week, but it's the case here. Dallas edged out the Giants in overtime, 40-37. Dak Prescott, 361 yards, 2 TDs. Russell Wilson, we saw a little bit of vintage Russell Wilson when they were when he was in Seattle going to Super Bowls, 450 yards and 3 touchdowns, but also unfortunately an interception in overtime that kind of killed whatever momentum. And to Brandon Aubrey's credit, he was able to he had a 64-yard field goal that tied it. Then it was a chip shot field goal for like 45 yards that ended up winning it for the Cowboys. So, Sid, that was a really strange game to watch.
Yeah, I had a chance to watch the game in its entirety after I got home from watching the Bears game in an undisclosed location. But the Giants should have won the game. Russell Wilson played as you-know-what off. And even despite that turnover, despite the 3 stupid-ass penalties, as we'll get to later in our studs and duds by the Giants offensive line, even though it turned out to be 3 points in that opening drive for the Giants, they had their chances to win the game. But Dak Prescott played well. Javonte Williams ran the ball hard for the Cowboys, 97 yards rushing and a touchdown. Malik Neighbors had a great game on the flip side for the Giants. 9 catches, 167 yards, and 2 scores. But they couldn't. The Giants' defense, which is not that bad, but they couldn't close the deal when they had to. And that's what happens when you have rebuilding teams and young teams. The Cowboys found a way to tie the game and then, of course, win it in overtime.
Yeah, 2 TD catches and 167 yards for Malik Neighbors and Elizabeth. Also 142 yards and a TD catch from Wan'Dale Robinson. And Cam Scatterboo, we talked about our guy Nick King from CBS 5 down there as he put at Arizona State. He had his first rushing TD, so congrats to him. It's not a bad effort from the Giants, but they couldn't close it out. So that was unfortunate there. Going into the Steel City in Pittsburgh, the last of the noon games, in a very strange, eventful, I think I'll probably be a better return to uses. I had this game kind of like on the back end here, 31-17, the Seahawks over the Steelers. Sam Darnold had 2 TD passes, but also 2 interceptions. Kenneth Walker III had a rushing TD at 105 yards. Jackson Smith-Njigba had 103 receiving yards, I should say, to lead the way of the receivers. On the flip side, Aaron Rodgers, 203 yards, TD, and 2 interceptions. So, that's not good. Jaden Warren had 48 rushing yards. He also led the team in receiving. But a play that occurred during the punt return.
Kickoff return.
Say, why don't you explain it? Because this was, probably one of the stranger plays.
I know there's a spot in the 20s we call the landing zone and all that little foolishness the NFL is trying to explain. But the kick return for the Steelers let the ball slip off his fingertips. I'm assuming that he assumed that the ball was just going to go out of bounds. Nope, it landed in the end zone, and the Seattle Seahawks upmen, they were alert, recovered the ball in the end zone and scored a touchdown. You notice it turned the whole momentum around for the Seahawks and then walked off with a 2-touchdown victory. LaKeena, I don't know if that young man has a job today, but if he still does, he is the luckiest man on the face of the earth. Pardon my Lou Gehrig, but just stuff like that you just cannot accept. Especially in today's game. I know Mike Tomlin's a good head coach. He puts up with a lot, but you cannot put up with foolishness like that. You practice that every day in practice, and then to go out there and basically just you don't know what to do. Not even attempt to recover the football. You just stand there, let the ball go off your fingers. As you just stand there, assuming that the ball is going to go out of bounds. Don't assume anything. Go after the football. The Seattle Seahawks did, and look what happened for them.
Yeah, the rookie Caleb Johnson from Iowa, and unfortunately, that's one of those days where he probably didn't know the rule. I know they just changed the rule like a couple of months ago. That's what happened in the Bears game. I know, but why didn't Santos go kick it out of into the end zone? But unfortunately, that's why they didn't. And you probably should have just let it go and then just try to follow the ball and whatnot. That's kind of crazy how the rules explain. But look, good situational awareness by the Seahawks. And look, it's one of those things where it's going to be one of those losses where it might come back to haunt Pittsburgh when it comes to tiebreakers. But on the flip side for Seattle, hey, look, they got a nice win that could probably help them out down the line.
Yeah, especially the way the Seahawks lost their home opener last week to the 49ers. Sam Darnold bounced back with a great performance. That's going to give that young team much confidence. Like you said, with the competitive NFC West, like you said, this could benefit them down the road. We'll see what happens. We still have a long way to go.
Shout out to George Holani, who is one of the corners for the Seahawks. He saw the heads up and thought that the ball was live, so he was able to his credit, he was able to saw what was happening, and it was right there to recover it. And look, that ended up switching the momentum from the Pittsburgh to Seattle.
Yeah. You listen to Second City Sports on Chicago City. LaKeena here with you, recapping the Week 2 action for the National Football League. Let's now go over to the late games. And one of the shockers of the day, yours surely called it during our picks on our show last Friday. The Indianapolis Colts defeated the Denver Broncos by the score of 29-28. The Colts walked it off with the last-second field goal. Daniel Jones, a.k.a. Indiana Jones, I'm sure the Colts will be marketing that name now, 23 of 34, 316 yards and a touchdown pass. Jonathan Taylor, he's back now for the Colts. Their leading rusher, 25 carries, 165 yards. On the flip side for the Broncos, Troy Franklin, 8 catches, 89 yards and a score.
Yeah, 316 yards that they gave up for the Broncos defense. This was a defense that was very vaunted. People thought they were going to get better. Well, they haven't been very good so far. So, Spencer Strader hit the 45-yarder. Now, he actually initially missed it from 50, but there was a penalty that was called on the Broncos against encroachment. So,
the leverage penalty.
Yeah, the leverage. Well, that's a weird rule anyway, the leverage thing. But yeah, he missed it from 60, but he came, after the face of that penalty, he was able to convert it from 45. And now the Colts are now 2-0. I don't think anybody had that early on in the season. But look, I think Daniel Jones. We'll see how long he can keep it up. But a nice win for the Colts. I think Chicago had this game, so I was able to watch a little bit of that. That was just a really weird finish. So, but a nice win for the Colts, and we'll see if they can keep it up. And also, a nice, the defense is actually pretty solid too. Cam Bynum had another interception, so he's had a good start so far. But yeah, a nice showing for the Colts. So we'll see if they can keep it going.
Yeah, Bo Nix didn't have a great game either. Obviously, he's still going to be the quarterback of the future for the Broncos, but slow start for him for to the season, and hopefully he'll pick it back up. Hopefully the Broncos defense will pick it back up as well. Bad off day for them yesterday.
All right, going down to Arizona, our buddy Spiro Diaz had to call this game from CBS. It actually ended up being a close game, oddly enough. 27-22, the Cardinals hang on to beat the Panthers, 220 yards in the TD for Mr. Kyler Murray, 34 rushing yards for Mr. James Conner. Trey McBride had 78 receiving yards as well. On the flip side, Bryce Young, 328 yards and 3 TDs. Chuba Hubbard had 38 rushing yards. Tarora McMillan, he had 100 yards. So, but it was a strange, kind of went from a fumble to a score in the end zone. But then that was actually started the whole weirdness of that game.
And also to the Panthers to recover an onside kick. So that was something that many people that didn't expect. But if you had the Panthers, if you took the Panthers in the point spread, you definitely live in life, because I think the spread was 6.5 favoring the Cardinals. The Cardinals ended up winning by 5. The Panthers, even though they laid down a big fat egg at Jacksonville last week, they did show some resurgence toward the end there. They just couldn't get it done. Bryce Young, as you mentioned, with over 328 yards passing, he did put up the ball up 55 times. You're not going to win too many games in this league putting up that many pass attempts. So both teams did struggle to run the football yesterday, but the Cardinals offense did start hot in the first half, leading 20-3 at recess, but the Panthers came alive in that fourth quarter. And the Cardinals, be honest with you, they are very lucky to get out of Dodge with that win.
Yeah, Kyler Murray had a late pick that could have given the Panthers a chance. He was talking to our buddy Nick King from CBS 5 down there in Phoenix, and He said, "I don't know what you're talking about. What pick?" He tried to play his pick, or like, I'm like, huh? What are you talking about? But but it ended up not costing him, so you can laugh about it now. Now the game of the week, the rematch of last year's Super Bowl between the Eagles and the Chiefs, and the Eagles get the Chiefs again, 20-17. Again, not the prettiest real performance, not as exciting as the other game was. It was a blowout, but this is a little bit more exciting. Jalen Hurts had 101 passing yards. But it was a Saquon Barkley show. He had 88 rushing yards in the TD. Devontae Smith 53 yards. On the flip side, Pat Mahomes had 187 passing yards, a TD, and an interception. He did have a rushing touchdown. He led the team in rushing. Travis Kelce had his moment, 61 receiving yards and such, but it was really the defense that were the story once again in this game.
As I said on Friday, I thought the Chiefs were commit to running the ball a little bit more. You didn't mention Isaiah Pacheco. That's embarrassing. Patrick Mahomes, we've been saying this for the last year, almost year and a half, almost 2 years, that he looks human, especially without his big-time targets outside of Travis Kelce. Give the Eagles credit. They came into Arrowhead, basically dominated the game from start to finish. They used to push about 4, 5, 6 times, LaKeena. I know the Eagles acted like it's going to be outlawed at any time now, but they did what they had to do within the trenches, and then came out of there with a 3-point win. The Chiefs are now 0-2 on the year. I know many people want to write them off. Even though I had the Chiefs winning this game, I'm still not ready. I'm not ready for Kansas City to disappear just yet. I'm not. Philadelphia, they had a better performance defensively yesterday than unlike last week on opening night. But you take the wins that you can get them, and now they sit the Finch have sitting on top at 2-0.
Yeah, well, they play the Giants on Sunday. I'm talking about the Chiefs, so I think that I think we could go on a limb and say they'll probably win that game now. This was kind of like, I don't want to say it was a dud game, but it kind of was a Sunday night between the Falcons and the Vikings. It was all Falcons, 22-6. Michael Penix Jr. had 135 yards. Bijan. Apparently it's now Bijan. NBC actually showed a clip when they do the whole
the intro,
yeah, the whole intro thing, and apparently he said Bijan, even though his mom says Bijan, and even he said in training camp that it was Bijan, but then now he's saying it's Bijan. I know his mom's not gonna be very happy with him, but even still, he had 143 yards with the team in rushing, but it was all the defense. So they sacked JJ McCarthy 6 times, and two of those sacks were by one Mr. Leonard Floyd. And also 2 Parker Romo, who they literally just picked up from the Vikings practice squad. He was 5 for 5 from field goals, and when they did the whole thing with Robinson and Floyd and Romo, Perry Romo did actually not know who Leonard Floyd. He actually did not know. He knew about Bijan, but he didn't know about Leonard Floyd because I guess he hadn't met the defensive guys yet. So Bill Stark actually introduced him, and when they got their game balls, and that was actually a pretty funny moment there. But I guess the Vikings were laughing because JJ McCarthy struggled all night. He was sacked 6 times, and he had 2 interceptions. Yikes.
The Falcons did something the Bears couldn't do last week. Keep them out the end zone for 4 quarters. We talked about this Atlanta Falcons team the last couple of years, looking as big underachievers, but they played like a real NFL team last night, scoring 22 points, 10 of them in the fourth quarter. Minnesota, maybe most of the country overrated them just a little bit after last week's win at Chicago. I think that there's somewhere you could fit it somewhere in the middle there for both of these teams. But the Falcons did what they had to do to get a big win on the road. The Vikings, I don't think they're as good as people think that they were after last week, but I don't think they're going to be as bad as people think that they're going to be coming into the season.
Yeah, just couldn't get their offense going. Jordan Mason only had 30 yards. They were able to tame Justin Jefferson for the most part. He had 81 receiving yards, but that was only 3 targets. So that was crazy. I know we're up against it. So real quick, your studs and duds.
My 3 studs from yesterday: Javonte Williams from Dallas, 97 yards rushing, a touchdown as the Cowboys beat the Giants 40-37 in overtime. This goes without saying. My second stud, Jared Goff of Detroit, 5 touchdown passes, off of 334 yards passing as the Lions beat the Bears 52-21. And my third stud will go to Mac Jones of the San Francisco 49ers, the backup quarterback, 279 yards passing, 3 touchdowns as the 49ers come away with a 26-21 win on the road against the Saints in the Bayou.
All right, Indianapolis is one of my studs. I didn't think they would win. I thought that I didn't think they would win that game against Denver, but they did. Atlanta, I mean, nice bounce back win. They probably should have won that game last week, but they came back and just dominated Minnesota with the defense, especially leading the way there. And my other studs, I'll say Seattle for especially for that heads up play that they did during the muffed punt return.
Speaking of duds, so there'll be one of my 3 duds. So that fumble kickoff by the Pittsburgh Steelers, we talked about that a few moments ago. Second dud, the Chicago Bears, that goes without saying. And my last dud, James Hudson III, number 55, the offensive lineman for the New York Giants. He had 3 penalties, including the bitch slap on the defensive lineman for the Dallas Cowboys on that opening drive, as I mentioned in that game recap earlier. He was later benched from Brian Dable, and thank goodness. But you can't keep doing stupid stuff like that and expect to win ball games. So James Hudson III, the offensive lineman for the New York Football Giants, he'll be my third dud. Three offensive penalties, including a personal foul, bitch slapping a defensive lineman for the Cowboys. That's unacceptable. Period. Hands down.
Yeah, that was just dumb. Period. I'll say Minnesota. Like I said, I don't think Minnesota's as bad, but I think people did kind of overhype them after they went against the Bears. But they were also shorthanded too. I think they had a lot of injuries. They were banged up, especially coming off a short week. So maybe that probably played a part. But we'll see down the road. Like I said, the Giants for not being able to put that game against Dallas where they should have won that game. And also my other dud, I'll say Miami because I don't know what's happening down there, but it looks like Mike McDaniel might be, if they'll get it together, Mike McDaniel will be getting his pink slip and his late card, as our late great friend Lamont Scott would say. So we'll see.
Yep. And week 2's action will wrap up tonight with a Monday Night Football doubleheader on ESPN. The first game will be on ABC, inside broadcasted on ESPN. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Houston Texans down in Houston at 9 o'clock Chicago time. From Las Vegas, it's the Raiders hosting the Los Angeles Chargers.
AFC West battle there for that game, so we'll see what happens there. But yeah, we talked about it, so you can go back and talk about we previewed both games during our picks on Friday, I should say. So you can go back and talk about it here.
I took both home teams for this one. I took Houston in the first game because I think they'll open up a little bit on offense tonight, even though they're not going to be without Joe Mixon. Nick Chubb is going to have a strong running game for the Houston Texans in the second game. Brock Bowers may not play, so that's going to be tough. I'm not going to change my pick, but Ashton Genty is going to hit the ground running for the Las Vegas Raiders. And Max Crosby, how much will that defense pressure Justin Herbert tonight? We'll see what happens there. Justin Herbert coming up, perhaps his best game as a Charger last week, beating Kansas City Chiefs in Brazil last Friday afternoon. I should say.
Well, I took both road teams, but I just think Houston without Joe Mixon, I think that's going to be a big issue there, and I think the Tampa Bay defense will expose that. Now, the Chargers, look, they've been able to, like I said, they had about 10 days to celebrate that win against the Chiefs. Now, I'm sure Jim Harbaugh will get his guys back to business as they face another foe, and also a former foe of his, from back in the day. If you know, if you in college. So there should be both games should be entertaining as like I said, you can watch. Both games are on ESPN, but the Tampa Houston game will be on ABC. First off, that Monday Night Football doubleheader.
Our number one's doors are slammed shut. Our number two's doors will open up all these messages as you listen to Second City Sports on Chicago. The Cubs win another series at home as they inch closer to clinching a playoff spot as a wild card, while the Southside Hitmen gets swept by the Cleveland Guardians in the great state of Ohio. We'll review college football's weekend action. A couple of surprises in the final lineup. Are they trying to move on up to be one of the top 5 teams in college football, and we'll have a special double dose of anniversaries for Old School TV Monday. That and a whole lot more. You stick and stay right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
How do you take care of your mind health?
For my mental health, I meditate in the mornings.
I have my dogs. They're the best.
I just find ways that help me just relax.
Finding things that make me happy, like being close to my family.
I meditate a lot and read books.
I have hobbies outside of the game. I'm able to switch off. I'm able to turn my brain off from the game of basketball.
Your mind health matters.
Your mind health matters.
It's a romance sport. What? It's a romance sport like that.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, no matter where we serve, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Everybody in a work zone is someone's somebody.
This is my mom. She works for KDOT.
This is my dad.
This is my mom.
This is my daddy.
This is my sister.
This is my daddy.
This is my son, Scott. He was killed while working in a highway work zone. When you drive through a work zone, drive like a life depends on it. Because it does.
Welcome back to album number 2 of Second City Sports on this Monday extravaganza edition. You're locked and loaded in real live and living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. LaKeena McGee is she. Sidney Brown, here is me. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and IG.
As we kick off hour number 2, discussing the world of baseball, both locally and nationally, you can definitely hit us up, at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
All right. So let's go to Diamond as the Cubs take this series against the Tampa Bay Rays. 2-3, 4-3 in the rubber match now, but also special shout out to Anthony Rizzo, who officially retired as a Cub on Saturday. He was in the he was in the stands with the rest of the peeps. You know, you can see how much fun he and his family had. That was really cool. Now, unfortunately, the Cubs lost that game, but again, they were able to bounce back and they won 2-3, and now their magic number 4 cushion playoff spot is now at 4. And they face the Pirates starting tonight over in Pittsburgh. So, but I think, Sid, look, we would say this before. Thanks, Nico Hoerner's 3 RBIs in that game yesterday. And the good news is, like I said, the Cubs, they're still 5.5 back. That might be a lot to overcome, but they will make a playoff spot. The match numbers at 4. So the good news is for them is that they will looks like they will close a playoff spot sometime this week. So, but again, if you're the Cubs, you just got to keep winning your series, and we'll see. Let the chips fall where they may, in the part of the division is concerned.
Yeah, it should have been a sweep by the Cubs. You can argue that back and forth all day long, but as we said before, over the last month or so, if the Cubs keep winning series, they'll be in the playoffs, and you said they'll be in the playoffs with a clinch in a spot. Hopefully, by the time we get back on air here on Friday. But going back to that series against Tampa Bay, Matthew Boyd, who started Friday's game, he didn't have his best stuff, but he was backed up by the offense. Saturday's game, Kyler Wade didn't pitch that badly, but their bullpen had a rare gaffe, and boom goes the diamond, as Tom Water would say. But yesterday's game, Shota Imanaga 9 strikeouts over 5 in the third, 5 innings, and he gave up 7 hits, but he gave up 2 solo shots to start the game, which is not good. He has to correct that going forward. But after that, he settled down. But you mentioned about Nico Horner with those 3 RBI yesterday, which sealed the series win for Chicago. Nico Horner, ever since the All-Star break, he's batting .321, 20 multi-hit games to go along with 13 extra games with an extra base hit. So we talked about the guys like Kyle Tucker, who's currently on the IL, and Seiya Suzuki, and some of the other big names in that Cubs lineup. But it's guys like Michael Busch who hit a home run in Saturday's loss. Guys like Ian Happ who hit another home run yesterday. Dansby Swanson and Nico Horner. It's going to be those back of the end guys that you'll hear a lot from. That's going to carry the Cubs to the finish line to clinch a playoff spot.
Should be very interesting. It was good to see all those guys, stepping up. Now, speaking of stepping up, you got Jameson Taillon versus Ashcraft. I should say. That's tonight's matchup in Pittsburgh. Should be a good one. You got Kate Horton against Paul Skeens. Skeens has had his struggles lately, so the Cubs might be able to get to him. And Matthew Boyd against Oviedo to wrap up that series. So, again, there's no reason why the Cubs shouldn't win 2 out of 3. I know Pittsburgh's been giving them a hard time the last time they played, but especially now that it looks like the playoff picture is getting a little bit clearer, they should be able to hang on for that top wild card spot if they don't end up winning the division. But, again, you just got to take care of business. And, like I said, let whatever happens in the division and the other stuff in the back end of the wild card happens.
Yeah, hopefully you could take no worse to take 2 out of 3 from the Pittsburgh Pirates in Pittsburgh. The Cubs always have an adventure, both good and bad, playing in the Steel City. So hopefully the reverse or fortunes will go in their favor starting tonight for a big 3-game series with the Pirates. Now let's head over to the South Side where the Chicago White Sox, they get swept by the Cleveland Guardians. Only scored a total of 3 runs in 3 games, including being shut out 4-0 on Friday. They lose 3-1 on last Saturday afternoon. And, of course, yesterday by the score of 3-2. LaKeena, the starting pitcher was there for Chicago, Southside Hitman, but the bats, as I mentioned, did not come alive. 3 runs in 3 games. That's unacceptable. But the Cleveland Guardians showed you how you're supposed to win ball games, especially being a playoff contending team in September. Great pitching, timely hitting, great defense. Cleveland displayed those things. On the flip side for the White Sox, great pitching, but suspect defense once again, and your lack of offense came to bite you in the ass.
Yeah, they didn't have a good showing hitting wise. Bo Naylor, 3 RBIs, led them to victory. I talk about the Guardians there to complete the sweep. Was very disappointing, that the White Sox, unfortunately, especially after the nice role that they got into, and all the after all the great offense. So. It was disappointing that they just kind of laid an egg against the Guardians, but I guess the Guardians wanted to kind of send a message to the last meeting of the season. So I guess they kind of wanted to send a message there. But you play a Baltimore squad. They've been playing a little bit better. So we'll see what happens. You got Berg versus Bradish. That's tonight. Then you got Shane Smith against Wells, and you got Perez versus Povich to wrap up the series on Wednesday afternoon. So again, they should be like I said, Baltimore's been playing well too. So it could be interesting to see how both these teams kind of shake out as they try to finish strong in the season.
One scheduling note, LaKeena, tomorrow night. Unfortunately, you surely won't be there in person. I'll be watching it on television. But tomorrow night, the guys and gals from Section 108, they'll have a special night to celebrate My Sox Summer Sharizi and Beeflo. Those three guys will have a special bobblehead. So go to the White Sox official website. You can purchase a special ticket. It'll be a limited amount of bobbleheads for the three guys in section runaway. So go to the White Sox official website to purchase tickets. Special ticket for tomorrow night's game. You can party with the guys, I believe, in a party patio before the game, and of course you can hang out with them during the game. So a special 108 night, that's tomorrow, with the White Sox and Baltimore Orioles. So I know both these teams won't make the playoffs, but you haven't got a chance to meet the three guys from the 108, unlike yours truly has. Purchase a ticket for tomorrow night's game. It's supposed to be a big crowd in that section, a big pregame party that's included with your special ticket. So once again, go to the Chicago White Sox special offer for tomorrow night's game in the 108 pre-party before the game. You can hang out with the guys during the game, so it should be a great time.
Should be a great time by all as they finish up their homestand. Of course, they play San Diego this weekend. We'll talk about that on Friday. I usually second see sports on Sports Social Chicago. LaKeena McGee Sidney Brown with you, talking some baseball here in this section. The Brewers, we're talking about baseball as a whole. The Brewers clinch a playoff spot, winning 2 out of 3 against St. Louis. Again, they're still 5.5 up on the Cubs. When it comes to the division, again, it might be, like I said, might be a bit tough for the Cubs to overcome, but we'll see how that happens here. Now, Philadelphia, they also clinch a playoff spot. They're winning 2 out of 3 against Kansas City. Looks like their 6-man rotation has been so far has been real good. 10-3. They lose to the Royals. No, they didn't get the sweep, but again, they get the playoff spot. I think their match number to clinch the NL East, I think it's like at 5, so they could clinch the NL East this week. So we'll see. But we already got 2 teams from the National League already clinching playoff spots.
Yeah, and Cal Schwarber hitting home run, I believe, number 52 in that series as well. And as I said for over the last month, he's your clear winner for NL MVP. And so with Zach Wheeler being out for the year, the offense is going to have to carry the Philadelphia Phillies, and Cal Schwarber is doing that right now. JT Realmuto also had another big home run yesterday. You still have Bryce Harper, and you still have Nick Castellanos. So the Philadelphia have knockers throughout their lineup. So, like you said, they'll clinch the NL East almost at any time now. So they have to get their pitcher rotation set for the playoffs, because that's what failed them last year. Although
going to the National,
their offense not showing up.
Yeah, well, so the offense basically just was not existent. That's why their playoff run was short. Going to the National League East, the Dodgers get 2 out of 3 against the Giants, as they have a little bit of breathing room against the Padres. No, they won their series as well, but they're still talking about the Dodgers 2.5 up. Like, I think they will do just enough to hang on. Even though they do face the Phillies tonight, so starting tomorrow, I should say. But that's going to be a tough series. Now, for San Diego, like I said, they win. They win 3 out of 4 against the Rockies. Now they will face. They got to go across country to face the Mets starting tomorrow. And we'll see if the Mets still got some fight in them, because they're starting to slip away in the playoffs. So the Cubs are kind of like okay, with the wild card spots. But that after them, I mean, it's they're 5 up now, 8.5, I should say. And then you got the Padres. They're 5 up on the Mets. So the Padres will clinch a playoff spot. It looks like now it's going to be that last wild card spot. It's the Mets right now, but then you got the Giants, the D-backs, and the Reds 2.5 back, even though they got swept. So, we'll see what happens. But the very interesting in the National League side, the very interesting races that National League wild card.
I'll ask you as a Cubs fan, assuming that San Diego will finish at that second spot, which matchup would you prefer the Cubs? Which team do you think the Cubs will match up better against? San Diego, the Mets, or Cincinnati? I think they could beat all 3 of those teams, to be honest with you, but I think their best matchup will be the Mets, because I think they'll have a quote-unquote easier time with the Mets, because their starting staff, the special backhand, has been terrible over the last month, and their bullpen has been shot, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Yeah, it really has, especially as of late. So I think if you're the Cubs, I think you would rather face the Mets out of those three. I mean, the Padres are kind of, you never know what you're going to get with the Padres. Same thing, with the Reds as well. But like I said, the Reds got to get in. They're still 2.5. They're still 2.5 back of that last wild card. And remember, they got swept by the A's of all teams. So that didn't help them with their wild card chances. That might have killed it. So. But again, we'll see. But I think that's who probably I would want to face if you're the Cubs. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting down there now. Detroit, I believe their magic number, is four. I think to I think it's 3 to I think it's 2 to clinch the playoff spot. I think it's like 4 or 5 to clinch the AL Central. I know they had a tough time. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Marlins. You can't really afford to do that. I think they kind of caught sleepwalking a little bit. So hopefully they can get it going there, because you don't want the Guardians are still right there. I'm not saying that they can. They may not. It may be too much from the overtake, but if you're the Tigers, you want to have a nice little cushion going into the playoffs.
Yeah, outside of Tariq Skubal, the rest of that starting staff is going to have to step up for Detroit. That's John Flaherty and the rest of that starting staff, and the offense is going to have to pick it back up again. So Detroit, like you said, they just got to get back on the roll. They got caught with their pants down, get back on the roll, especially offensively, and the rest of that starting staff, and they'll end up clutching this thing sooner rather than later. I want to go back to the NL West for a second. Speaking of the Dodgers and Giants, congrats to Patrick Bailey. I was watching that game live last Friday. Grand slam for the Giants beating the Dodgers by the score of 5-1. Everybody's talking about, well, this is the Dodgers' year to lose in the playoffs. That may be so, but right now they're showing a hunger in the fight that this team needs to advance in the playoffs. They beat the Giants the next 2 nights. So we talked about Dave Roberts and all the stuff he has to manage all year long due to injuries and inconsistent offense at times. And they did respond by winning that series, taking the last 2 games for the Giants. The Giants are still hanging tough in there, as you mentioned, for that 3rd wild card spot. But everybody wants to count out the Dodgers right now. You can now. They're responding like champions, the defending champions that they are, taking the last 2 games of that series by the Bay.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like you probably thought that once they dropped that opener against the Giants, you thought, but then they came back and they end up winning the next 2, so they end up winning the series. So yeah, I think this might be a good thing for the Dodgers. They're getting their guys, starting to get their guys back, so I think that should definitely help them as they go into this playoff chase. So it'll be interesting to see what they do here. But it's definitely gonna be tough for the Dodgers. But I guess it's not necessarily a bad thing. Now going to the AL West, the Mariners are now they now have the lead over Houston as they swept the Angels, and they've now won 9 in a row. Looks like all the trades that they made, they're pitching, they're hitting, they've been very solid. As they looks like they're not gonna say they're gonna wrap up the division just yet, but it looks like they might be in the driver's seat.
Yeah, Cal O'Reilly ties Mickey Mantle for the most home runs in a season by a switch hitter. He has 54. He hit one yesterday. I think Cal O'Reilly still your AL MVP winner over Aaron Judge. Too much to chagrin some other voters, but Seattle's putting it all together right now. They're trying to take advantage of Houston's mistakes. Of course, Houston took 2 out of 3 in Atlanta. Atlanta avoided being swept yesterday by beating the Astros by the score of 8-3. But we talked about Seattle trying to put it all together. Brian Wu, a sneaky good candidate for AL Cy Young. He probably won't get it, but he should be at least in the top 3, top 5, in my opinion, for AL Cy Young voting. Mentioned about that offense with not just with Cal O'Reilly, but Randy Arozarena, Eugenio Suarez, and Julio Rodriguez. So that Seattle offense should start clicking out as we head to the final stretch 2 weeks of the regular season.
Going to be very interesting to see what happens here. Now going into the AL East, now it's going to get a little bit interesting there in that division. Now they did, the Blue Jays magic number is 10 to clinch the AL East. They have won 4 in a row. They took care of business sweeping the Orioles. So it looks like the Blue Jays, after they had a sort of a tough last couple of weeks, looks like they kind of are now back on track. Now, as for the Yankees and the Red Sox face each other for one last time, and also for Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, the Red Sox hang on, but the Yankees end up winning the series. all these teams are probably going to end up making it into the playoffs, but it looks like Toronto will probably do just enough to hang on, and we'll probably get that division. Now the wild cards is interesting because you got, of course, the Yankees are and the Red Sox, but after that, with Houston, they got the third spot right now, but the Rangers and the Guardians are like 2 and 2.5 back respectively. So the wild card race is definitely getting interesting in the AL too.
Yeah, the Rangers and Guardians both doing it quietly. So, like you said, for the Houston Astros, they got to play better. I know they, like I said a moment ago, they dropped they had an opportunity to sweep the Atlanta Braves, didn't do that, but they still had to keep it going. Now with the AL East, as I said over a month ago, that's Toronto's division to lose. Looks like they'll end up winning that. The Yankees, they really didn't need the series last weekend, but Aaron Judge had another home run yesterday. He had a couple in the game on Friday that I watched live. So the Yankees trying to get back on track, which they are. And Boston suffering through injuries right now. Their rookie outfielder Roman Anthony. The Red Sox are 3-6 right now without Mr. Anthony. But Garrett Crochet saved the day yesterday on 99 pitches, 12 strikeouts to 1 walk. That was very impressive.
Indeed. So it should be interesting in that AL wild card. Now going to the schedule for this week, you got the Cubs and the Pirates. The first game will be on MLB Network. Atlanta versus Washington, Toronto, and Tampa. The White Sox, as we said, they host Baltimore. The Yankees against Minnesota. Cincinnati against St. Louis. Speaking of Texas and Houston, they face each other, so that's going to be interesting to see what happens. Will one team, not the other team, out for the perhaps maybe not just the AL West.
Yeah, this is an elimination series for sure.
Yeah, so we'll just see what happens in that series. Also, San Francisco and Arizona. And could this be a possible playoff preview? It might be. You got the Phillies and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Should be a fun one. That first game will be on MLB Network.
In other series that will be starting tomorrow, we'll have Cleveland and Detroit. I think this will be an elimination series for Cleveland, if they can make any noises in terms of hanging on in that AL wildcard race. We also have Atlanta and Washington. No one cares about that. Boston will host the Oakland A's of Sacramento from Fenway Park. The Mets and the Padres will do battle from Queens, New York. The Mets definitely desperately trying to hang on to a playoff spot. It's currently the leading in that third wildcard spot in the American League. At Tampa, will do better battle, and of course, if you care, the Marlins and the Colorado Rockies in the worst series in the National League. And that's your schedule for the series that'll be starting tonight and tomorrow.
Your TV, national TV matchups real quick. Of course, you get Atlanta and Washington. That'll be on MLB Network tomorrow at noon. This playoff series, TBS has a double header. Yes, San Diego and the Mets, as well as the late game between the Phillies and the Dodgers. Also, MLB Network, you got the Cubs and the Pirates that they finished up this series, as well as the Giants and Arizona. Again, another elimination series there in the National League. FS1, you got Detroit hosting Cleveland. We'll see if Detroit can wrap that AL Central up. Prior video, you got the Yankees and the Twins, and also the wrap up MLB Network, your triple header, you got the Phillies and the Dodgers that finish up their series. And that's just got this week in MLB.
Speaking of MLB, Fox Saturday Baseball will not be seen this week on Saturday. It will be seen on Thursday. Baseball Night in America will start on this Thursday at 6 p.m. Chicago time. Most of the country will get the Yankees at Baltimore, while others, including here in Chicago, will get LaKeena's Cubs at Cincinnati against the Reds. Coverage begins at 6 p.m. on Thursday, only on Fox.
Should be a lot of fun. Now we can take a break, of course. Some big injury news. This came out by a few minutes ago. We'll talk about that. Also, college football, a couple of upsets this weekend. We'll talk about that. And a double dose of old school TV Monday and a whole lot more. LaKeena McGee, Sidney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports. Our Sports Potpourri segment coming up right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey Maggette, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago's Monday Extravaganza edition. I'm Sid, that's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and again at IG.
This is our last segment of the show for today. If you have any questions or comments for us or any of the topics that we discussed thus far on today's show, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the upper screen for you.
Some NFL injury news, and it's not good for the Bears, as Jalen Johnson, of course, we saw him re-aggravate that groin yesterday. Well, it looks like he's going to be out indefinitely, and according to Jordan Schultz, he is likely to miss the rest of the regular season because it will require surgery. So, yeah, it's not been a good last couple of years for Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, he's one of the top 5 defensive backs in the league when he's healthy, but unfortunately, he's going to get tagged with the injury play bug. So it's unfortunate news for him personally and for the Chicago Bears, as they were trying to make strides on the positive side this year. I know Nahshon Wright will get the start. He got torched yesterday along with Tyree Stevenson, the number 2 corner for Chicago. So the Bears will have to make some adjustments moving forward. Will they find a veteran guy out there on the waiver wire to to help take the place of Johnson for the rest of the year? I don't know, but Nashon Wright, who had that pick 6 last week against Minnesota, that job is his for now, unless they find somebody out there on the waiver wire.
More injury news as it looks like Jaden Daniels underwent an MRI following the Commanders' loss to the Packers on Thursday. Looks like he has a sprained knee. This is according to Ian Rappaport and Mike Garafolo. So, but his status for this Sunday's game against the Raiders is in doubt. So we could see Marcus Mariota out there. Now, look, he's a formidable veteran. So, but yeah, this will be a big loss for the Commanders if that's the case with Daniels, if he has to miss some time.
Yeah, we know Marcus Mariota, as you mentioned, he brings to the Washington Commanders. We saw him in limited action last year where Jane Daniels had those broken ribs. Mariota does bring experience, but he doesn't bring that same pizzazz as Jaden Daniels does. Yes, Mariota is very mobile, but he's limited with his mobility because he's much older than Daniels. So we'll see what happens with the Commanders, but that offense is going to take a major hit.
Couple of injury news. Looks like the Panthers are going to be out with their O-line, Robert Hunt, Austin Corbett. They're going to be on injured reserve. And also no Aaron Jones this week as the Vikings play the Bengals. He is out with a hamstring, and they've also have a couple of guys in concussion protocol. So busy injury report for the NFL that's today.
Yeah, injuries is a part of the sport, and whoever is just the best and who has the best depth will survive and have a successful season and perhaps make a playoff run. So injuries obviously is part of the game. It's a dangerous sport. Whoever has the best depth will survive in advance. So we'll see what happens.
And some more injury news just broke from Mr. Ian Rappaport from the NFL Network. JJ McCarthy has an ankle sprain and will be likely out this week. So we will see Carson Wentz this week. And I think after last week, I think some people say, you know what, maybe letting him sit for a little bit might not be a bad idea. So yeah, we're going to see Carson Wentz this weekend for the Vikings.
I think Christine, the Queen Manica, will pull her hair out because it's one of the 3 guys she doesn't like. So we'll ask her about that on Friday. But I think it was she read that and was like, what?
Yeah, probably not. So, so that was a busier injury update for the NFL. As just like I see sports Chicago, LaKeena McGee Sidney Brown with you as we go to the gridiron, but on the college side, talk a little bit of college football. Basically business usual for the most part. Ohio State kind of played down to their competition a little bit. They beat Ohio, though. Meanwhile, Penn State laid on Villanova. LSU pulled away from Florida. And Oregon at the Lake. We said that we warned y'all that this would happen, that Oregon will give Northwestern the business, and exactly what they did on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Northwestern scored 14 points in the fourth quarter, but you mentioned the game was already out of reach. Dante Moore for Oregon didn't have to do too much. Their starting quarterback for the Ducks, 16 of 20, 178 yards and a touchdown. But the man of the hour was De'Aaron Hill Jr., the star running back for the Ducks. 5 carries, 94 yards in the score.
Yep. So really, like I said, Oregon taking care of business. So no trouble with Northwestern there. Miami, after a long weather delay, 49-12, they took care of USF, I should say. And one of the thriller games in overtime, you had the Georgia Bulldogs. Once again, this is 9th year in a row they beat Tennessee thanks to a field goal in overtime.
Yeah, this was a classic back and forth game. We talked about Tennessee last year, had one of the top defenses, in my opinion, in the country, but they gave up 44 points. Georgia, everybody thought that they were on the ropes to having their first loss of the year, but as you mentioned, they came up big in overtime. And let's give credit here to the Bulldogs star running back Nate Frazier. He had 14 carries for 73 yards, and they scored double-digit points in the second, third and fourth quarters, and of course they scored the go-ahead touchdown for the win in overtime. As you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago, Sid the Kid here with you as we take a look at some of the other scores from the world of college football. Going back locally, Notre Dame lose a heartbreaker to number 16 Texas A&M. The Aggies get it done, 41-40 in South Bend. For the Aggies, you had Marcel Reed, the star quarterback, 17-37, 360 yards passing in 2 scores. And of course, Mario Carver for A&M had 7 catches, 207 yards, and the go-ahead score late. On the flip side, for the Fighting Irish, you had Jeremiah Love, who basically was only the only consistent player for the Fighting Irish, 23 carries, 94 yards in the score. Notre Dame now 0-2 on the year. LaKeena, call me crazy. No one saw this coming for the Fighting Irish. Now they're 0-2 on the year, and they lose a heartbreaker by 1 to Texas A&M.
Yeah, Marcel Reed was really solid for A&M, 360 yards, and unfortunately, the holder for Notre Dame, you got to think he is going to be probably going to be kicking himself after missing, which didn't help that they weren't able that botch extra point attempt that kind of gave the Aggies a chance. And look, look, they took care of business. I think this is their first ever. And look, Texas A&M has had a great program for many years. Now, of course, y'all remember Johnny Manziel and such, but Mike Elko has definitely given them a chance to kind of be in a position to perhaps maybe win the SEC. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do here as they go into their SEC schedule, starting in a couple of weeks, because they actually are off this week. They face Auburn. So we're interested to see how this team does. But yeah, this is a great win by the A&M program.
Yeah, Texas A&M now 3-0 on the year. Bringing it back here locally, the Fighting Illini ranked number 9 in the country. They take care of Western Michigan 38-0. Luke Altmaier, 2 touchdown passes off of 17 of 26 passes, passing and 196 yards. Their star running back, Caden Fegan, who I believe is going to have a big year. He had 20 carries, 100 yards in the score. And that big tight end, Hank Beatty, had 6 catches at 53 yards receiving and a score. I saw some of this, LaKeena. Illinois, like we talked about last Friday, hopefully they weren't looking ahead to their matchup this coming week against Indiana. But the Fighting Illini were on the word go from start to finish. They take care of a lesser opponent. The defense was outstanding, obviously pitching a shutout. But Luke Altmaier, I'll keep saying this until I'm blue in the face. If he doesn't turn the ball over and the running game is on point, the Fighting Illini will find a way to win their share of ball games this year.
Yeah, we knew they weren't gonna get caught looking ahead. So I guess Indiana coming up this week. So it is what it is. Like I said, I didn't watch any of this game because I knew they were taking care of business, and they did. And also, like I said, Indiana took care of business as well. So it should be a great matchup coming up. It'll be on prime time on NBC. Like I said, we'll talk about that coming up on Friday. But yeah, nice kind of win to kind of set up that. Now Vanderbilt, look, it seems like every year Vanderbilt always has one of those games where you kind of come out of nowhere and they win. Well, they upset South Carolina. Diego Pavia had 2 TD passes, and also Denzel Lasser had 44 rushing yards. It was really the turnovers that kind of they couldn't get it going. I'm talking about South Carolina. Lenora Sellers, I know he got hurt. So I think, unfortunately, that didn't help their cause there, and also turnovers as well for them. But yeah, Shane Beaver was not happy after the game. Well, let me tell you. So, but yeah, Vanderbilt, look, a nice win for Vanderbilt. Like I said, they always have one of these wins every season, it seems like. So it is what it is. Like I said, will they win the SEC? Probably not. But but it's a nice win for Vanderbilt.
Well, they had a win like that last year against Alabama at home, and then catapulted them to a successful season. So we'll see what happens with them. Excuse me. Another coach that's not happy today, and that's Dabu Sweeney, number 12 Clemson, goes down to Georgia Tech in that hot Atlanta. The Yellow Jackets now surprising 3-0 on the year with a walk-off field goal, beating the Clemson Tigers 24-21. Mr. Haynes King for the Yellow Jackets, 20 of 28, 211 yards passing. He also had 25 carries for 103 yards in the score. I caught the end of this, LaKeena. I remember I said this on the show last Friday. Cade Klubnik, a potential top 5 candidate for the Heisman Trophy. He needed to have a big performance. He didn't. The Yellow Jackets, they hung around. Well, they had one more big play than the Clemson Tigers did at the end with the walk-off field goal. The Clemson Tigers defense, unimpressive, especially in that second half.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta wonder like what's going on down there in Clemson. I guess the old saying Clemson A, and unfortunately this case. But yeah, Georgia Tech, they're 3-0. I think this is the first time I think in like 3 years they've been 3-0. Clemson falls to 1-2. Now they're 0-1 in the ACC. Now they could come back and win it, but the schedules get tougher. But yeah, a nice win for Georgia Tech. I mean, look, they've had a couple of these this year. So yeah, we'll see what happens against for the Yellow Jackets and both Clemson as well down the line. Now, Oklahoma took care of business against Temple. Iowa State, was a little touch to go for a little bit, but they pulled away from Arkansas State. Ole Miss held off Arkansas. Alabama took care of business against Wisconsin. So did Utah against Wyoming. Texas Tech they got their business done against Oregon State. Michigan, nice bounce back. When it was against Central Michigan, so not a big surprise there. Auburn beat South Alabama, and Mizzou took no letdown there after beating Kansas. They took care of business against Louisiana.
Yeah, going back to last Friday night's contest, Deion Sanders had a little bit of trouble with Colorado. They fall by 16 to the Houston Cougars. I think Houston may be one of those sneaky teams that could wreck shop this season in college football. Hopefully, Deion Sanders on the flip side will get his starting quarterback situation sorted out. And speaking of another NFL legend, Bill Belichick, as we call him on this show, North Carolina, they get it done by blowing out Richmond at home 41-6. Mr. Gio Lopez, 10 of 18, 119 yards and 2 touchdowns. Demon June, 14 carries, 148 yards and a touchdown. And their star wide receiver, Jordan Shipp, SHIPP, 4 catches, 52 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Hopefully with the being up on these lesser opponents, maybe they could get some confidence as they start ACC play. So North Carolina, I think they will go to a bowl game this year. But again, like I said, I mean, you gotta be about the smaller teams first before you can get to the big teams. So we'll see what happens with North Carolina as they start ACC play now. Among some of the other winners, you had Nebraska, Maryland, Michigan State, and Rutgers. I think Rutgers is 3-0 for the first time in a couple of years. West Virginia beat Pitt in their annual backyard brawl, coming back. I think they were down 11, but they came back and won that game. Let's see anything else. Oh, USC, took care of Purdue. USC is now undefeated. Now you wonder. Now again, no one's really talking about USC. Maybe I think Looking Right probably prefers it that way. Now they do continue conference play, I should say, as they face Michigan State coming up on Saturday, I should say. So and plus they also face Illinois and Michigan after that. So and Notre Dame as well with their annual matchup. So it's gonna get really good. These games coming up, we'll find out if USC is for real.
Yeah, and you mentioned with that tough schedule, I think that we're going to find out the true test of this Trojans team, and with those tough opponents, they're really going to have their hands full. Speaking of the Big Ten, the Golden Gophers, PJ Fleck loses his first game of the year, this time on the road to Cal, 27-14, and Deshaun Foster, only his second game into his second season, gets his pink slip and his link card from UCLA. Where does the Bruins football program, where do they go going forward? Because I know they had their financial issues the last several years. And, of course, now being in the Big Ten, Deshaun Foster is not the answer. Where do they go from here?
You know what? Honestly, I have no idea. I mean, it's going to be kind of interesting to see what they do because no, it's seriously because, like I said, I think you look. I mean, I feel bad for Deshaun Foster, like because he was one of the top players at that school, and you thought that maybe this would be a nice thing, but again, it was going to be tough, especially with the financial restraints and stuff. So they don't have the NIL money yet. I think they do have it now, since they're in the Big Ten. But again, unfortunately, Foster just wasn't the answer. And getting your butts kicked, twice at home. Yeah, you're gonna get your pay slip and your link card with that one. So unfortunately, so.
Yep, and that's our wrap up in college football for week 3. Week 4 will start on Thursday. Of course, looking at the schedule, it looks like we're going to have some more.
Well, no, one more firing though. Brent Pry was fired at Virginia Tech. Also, probably about like an hour before Foster got his. Well, this is actually before Foster got his pink slip and link card. Brent Pry from Virginia Tech, he got his pink slip and link card. They're also 0-3, but they also lost to Old Dominion. So that's that. Yeah. So unfortunately, that's gonna get you a pink slip and link card as well. That program has not been the same, unfortunately, since Frank Beamer retired. So yeah, that was kind of interesting. But yeah, I think both teams can kind of get back into both them and UCLA, but you just got to find the right guy to lead the way there. Because I think with NIL money, Virginia Tech's got their share of NIL money as well. There shouldn't be any excuses why these two teams should not get back to at least be at the very least within a bowl contention at the very least.
Yeah, and we'll preview college football's key matchups in our next episode on Friday with the week 4 preview. Some big matchups here as we starting to get into the meat and potatoes of the college football season. You mentioned, LaKeena, some schools started off last past Saturday with the conference matchups. We're starting to see those matchups for this coming week in week 4. So some intriguing matchups here, and it's going to be exciting previewing the big game. So we can't wait to bring the coverage to you guys. That's week 4 of the college football season as conference play is starting to take place now. But we'll give you the preview this coming Friday right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago.
All right, so let's talk some sports media news and some big news at the top over at CHSN. Jason Coyle, who was the president and CEO, stepped down. Mike McCarthy, no, not the former Dallas head coach, Packers head coach Mike McCarthy, but he's a big-time executive. He will take over. He was already the COO there already. He will assume Coyle's duties immediately, while Coyle will become advisor to the board of directors at the station. So, Sid, what do you think about this news?
Yeah, this is very untimely, just to say the least. I know this news just broke during our commercial break. I was trying to catch up on what happened, but just didn't have the time. But CHSN is going through some tough times right now. They just laid off a few people in their digital department. Of course, we know the troubles that they had before the early summer with Xfinity, Comcast. Of course, they're on that cable service now. So they're all three of the Bulls, Blackhawks, and White Sox will be seen on a regular basis now on Comcast. And I know the White Sox viewership has slightly bumped up ever since they've been placed on Comcast early in the summer. So that network is still going through a tough transition right now. We'll see what happens going forward. But obviously, is a little bit more to the story than this, and we'll do some digging, hoping we'll have a follow-up for you on our next episode on Friday.
In happier news, involving one of our favorites, Casey Standahar, of course. She's the super talented sports reporter at NBC Chicago, ABC 5 Chicago, as well as silent report for
friend of the
FS1
show.
Yeah, and also a silent report for both FS1 and on the Big East Network. I know she's going to be doing some stuff with DePaul as well. Well, she just got engaged over the weekend. Her fiance Jim Chapin, he is actually a Chicago guy himself. He's also the offensive coordinator and the QB coach over at Central Michigan. So unfortunately, they got their butts kicked by Michigan, but hey, he got a great girl in Casey. So congrats to both of them. Wish them nothing but years and years of happiness.
Yes, and like I said before, we had her on the show multiple times. She's a very hard worker. Well, I remember when she first came to Chicago, trying to make her mark. Well, she's definitely made her mark and then some. So congratulations to her and her fiance. Like you said, I echo those same words. To many, many, many years of blessings and happiness. So she deserves it as well. So, and hopefully they'll stay together forever. So as both of them keep climbing upwards in their careers, both of them, I'm very, very happy for both of them.
All right, and on to some crazy sports media news. College game made their announcement of where they're gonna go. Now there were some folks that thought that they were gonna do the Illinois Indiana game. They did not. They decided to go with Miami and Florida instead, even though Florida has not been playing very well. But again, I think that's because I think it's more of like a station thing than anything, more of a station thing than anything else. You kind of get it, but I'm sure after Florida losing to LSU, I'm sure they probably wish they could change it. But I don't know how predetermined that they make it. But yeah, you kind of wonder, but you understood why they did it because, like I said, I think because also it's not I don't know why they decided to didn't go with Illinois and Indiana, but I guess.
Because I don't think Illinois has. I know they haven't had many winning teams until recently in the last 2 or 3 years. But Illinois historically has never gotten a game day because they haven't been very good. But I don't think Northwestern has either. But usually you think that these decisions are made at least within a week in advance. So I don't know what goes on behind closed doors regarding those decisions, but you think that had contingency plans, so obviously made in advance. But Salt Lake City gets not Fox NFL kickoff. They get a big noon kickoff pregame party. So I don't know how they get it. Illinois doesn't get one, but it's all politics, and I know it's all about viewership at the end. So hopefully Illinois continues to win. They'll get a game day.
Yeah, because I think Indiana, they had theirs for football. They've had it multiple times for their basketball version of college game day, but they just had their first one, I think, just last season. So maybe it's because these two are not historically, top programs in college football. I know Illinois has had their moments here and there in the 90s and the 2000s and the 80s too, but Indiana, I know they had Trent Green. He played there for a little bit. But it's just like they really haven't had a big, showing here. But I don't know. But it's just kind of crazy. But I know both fans, both the Hoosiers and Illinois fans are very kind of open arms about it. So who knows?
Yeah. So like I said, a lot of things go behind the scenes with that. So hopefully Illinois, when Illinois continues to win, they'll finally get some national love. So we'll see what happens with that. Any other news, notes, and nuggets before we close it out with the old school TV Monday?
I guess if you're a WNBA fan, you had both Minnesota, Atlanta, New York, and Las Vegas. They won their respective openers. You got Atlanta, Indiana. They will face each other tomorrow, as well as Vegas and Seattle. So Atlanta and Las Vegas will try to wrap up their series coming up, as well as those games will be on ESPN, mind you. Also on Wednesday, Phoenix and New York, as well as Minnesota and Golden State. So we'll see if New York and Minnesota can wrap up their series. These are all best of 3. So again, I want to see. I know the Rays. I know they did well with their regular season ratings, but let's see how they do in the playoffs, especially when they should be okay, especially the midweek. You're not having to worry about competing against the NFL or anything like that and college football. But you kind of wonder why. I get it, but yeah, you wonder. You got to make it a little bit shorter. I think they're going to have to do that down the line, but we'll see. Talk about the WNBA season.
But then missing Caitlin Carr because she's been injured off and on this year, and now she's missing the rest of the year. That's definitely going to take a big hit. But hopefully the playoffs are competitive. If they are, then as I say, the ratings will be respectable. But it's going to take a major hit with Caitlin Clark not participating in the playoffs this year.
Like I say, you can watch all 4 of those games on ESPN if you're so inclined. So I'm good on my end. But anything else you want to talk about before we do our double dose of old school TV Monday?
I'm good. Let's go. Let's close it out with Old School TV
Uh,
Monday. Both these shows are special anniversaries.
Yeah, we'll start with this one. I think we did this show. I think Sid forgot, but I think we did show. But look, we'll do it again. It's fine. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which aired from 1990. Excuse me. And now I'm talking about not the Bel-Air one that's on Peacock right now. I know it's going to be finishing up their season, but 1990 and their last season was 96. And of course, it's about a guy. I won't rap it, but it's a guy from West Philadelphia. Got into some trouble. His mom sends him to live with his aunt and her family up in the posh suburb of Bel Air in Southern California. Cultural differences and class differences ensues, and you got a nice mix of funny but also heartwarming, and it did topical stuff as well. But Sid, what did you think? Because I thought that it was one of those shows that really kind of started the kind of like the trend, if you will, of these kinds of shows.
Yeah, and they tackled some a lot of tough issues as well. I remember Carlton being pulled over, and they were both wrongfully jailed, driving Uncle Phil's car, and of course Carlton's quote unquote black identity being challenged for a fraternity.
One of my
I believe it was a
episodes.
couple years later. Yeah, and of course we talked about. I remember now we did this show again. We talked about Janet Humor Witten with her graciously exit from the show. I know her and Will are on good terms now. And then Janet what's her face? Daphne Maxwell Reid took over as Aunt Viv. She did a great job in the last half of that series. So, and we won't get into the story behind how Will and Jazz got that show. We don't have enough time to do that. But Will's album, we'll just say this: Will's second album was struggling, and he had to kind of save face. And of course, he was bailed up by Benny Medina and the late great Quincy Jones from Chicago when NBC came up with the idea for that TV show. So that which helped save Will's career, and it basically saved his career and keeping his rap career going. Remember, he had a couple of albums during the time he was on the show, including that song "Summertime." And of course, he decided to do movies full time, which paid off for him. That's why he ended that series early. And if he didn't, his movie career didn't take off as early as it did, that show could have went on for at least another 2 or 3 years to wrap up the 90s. So I was bummed when that series ended. It could have went on for another 2 or 3 years, but Will Smith's motion picture career took off, and that's exactly what happened. But I still watch the reruns on occasions. I know it's being repeated on MTV and a VH1, one of those formerly music networks. And so it also culturally impacted the show. It invited white America to see black families in a different light. Yes, it was a comedy, but Will showed his early stages of his not just his television career, but his acting career as well. And so you had a diverse cast. R.I.P. to James Avery, Uncle Phil, who passed away about a decade ago now. I know Ashley Banks, a.k.a. Tatiana Lee, is doing well now. Karen Parsons is doing well in the animation world now. So, and of course, Alfonso Ribeiro, remember him from Silver Spoons. We did that show too from the 80s. Remember, if you don't know the story real quick, remember he got started on A Different World. And of course, his agent approached him about the offer about Fresh Prince. Of course, he had a tough decision to make. He chose Fresh Prince. Of course, the rest was history.
Yeah, it ended up being a good decision on his part. So among some of the well, we didn't get to this one. Some of the guest stars there were some good ones. You had Queen Latifah, Oprah Winfrey, Raven-Symoné,
extraordinary.
Don Cheadle, Vanessa Williams, Chris Rock, Belle DeVoe, Regis Philbin, and Vivica A. Fox, among others. So so it was there was something a who's who back then, and of course you can watch Fresh Prince on Hulu as well, and also I think it's also on Pluto TV. I think, like I said, I think I mentioned this before. They have a black sitcom channel, all available the black sitcom. So Pluto TV is free, and I believe it's also on. I think it's on Peacock as well, if I'm not mistaken, because I know. I won't say you want to call it a reboot, but Bel-Air is also streaming on Peacock. I guess they're going to have their fourth and final season, I think, later this year, if I'm not mistaken. So you can watch it. You can pretty much watch it. It's everywhere. So, and some of the episodes are on YouTube as well. So you can find it.
Yes. And another show that premiered 40 years ago this past week was The Golden Girls. It aired from 1985 to, I believe, 1992 on NBC. Of course, Unfortunately, all the major stars are passed away. Of course, B. Arthur, Rue McClanahan, of course, Estelle Getty. I remember that movie she did with Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Mama
Yes.
from the Train. And of course, the legendary Betty White, who passed away about a year ago. So it was about four senior citizens living in Miami at the time. You saw all their personalities come out, shine through the television screen. And it was unheard of at that time to put 4 quote unquote senior citizens on television at that time. But they were a funny bunch of women trying to navigate through the last half of their life. But they weren't just old, sitting up there being cranky. They had personality, they had fun, and it was just a show that a lot of audiences could relate to at that time.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I heard some old interviews of, I think Rue McClanahan has said they actually wanted her to read for the role of Rose, as she didn't want to do it, but I guess somebody made the change and said, well, look, you do Blanche, and of course Betty White. She was all set to play Blanche because she played a similar character on Mary Tyler Moore show. She played Sue Ann. Sue Ann was kind of like that with Blanche. But they made the switch, and the rest was TV history. All 4 women did win Emmys for their work on the series, and also I think the show won like 3 times for best comedy. So it like you said, it kind of like changed the way people looked at senior citizens, because look, yeah, they've had some some tough goings, divorce, losing their spouse, losing jobs, but it was relatable too, and I think that's what kind of struck a chord with it, because it was also funny. They kind of, you didn't really know that you were learning something unless you watch it. And look, it look like the Fresh Prince. The episodes age well. Like I can pretty much tell you just about every line from every episode. I still watch the episodes on Hallmark. It comes on every night on Hallmark. Also on CMT. It's also streaming on Hulu as well. So yeah, it's right there for you. And yeah, I mean, it was just like I said, it dealt with like issues that senior citizens go through. So I kind of like got you prepare for if your parents or you have an aunt or an uncle or an older friend who's going through this. I think that's really kind of what made the show so great. And I think to your point, I think that show could last, but I think B. Arthur wanted to leave because when we talked about her other show, Maude, it was kind of the same thing where she kind of felt, I don't want to say restless or listless about it, but she kind of felt like that's all she could have done. Now I wish they would have brought on Debbie Reynolds. I think that would have been, she would have been a great addition to the show. Her and Blanche would have competed for men and such. I think that would have been great. But yeah, but yeah, that would have been hilarious. But yeah, look, all 4 would have got a chance to shine and end up being. It's still a great a show that still is one of the all-time greats to this day.
Yeah, you mentioned it could be seen everywhere on streaming platforms, services. Those are saluting the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and the Golden Girls on the premiere of the anniversaries from this past week for Old School TV Monday. LaKeena, close us out.
Now we might do this show at some point for Old School TV. But did you watch The Golden Palace?
No, I had to catch up on that, but I will catch up on that. When I do, we'll do that down the road for Old School TV Monday.
All right, so happy.
So you got my word. You got my word.
Well, no. Just say you take your time. Like I said, 40th anniversary for the Golden Girls, 35th anniversary for Fresh Prince, to the all-time great sitcoms. So you can still stream it everywhere. So we salute both of those shows for Old School TV Monday. And with that said, you follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter X and Keno's here again the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sidney Brown, on the Twitter X and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80, SIDKID80, SIDKID80. Be sure to download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are located on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. But while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WAR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live and live in color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live and live in color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And of course, you can catch replays of Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere. If you miss a segment, if you miss when we do our picks or when we talk about studs and duds for the previous week in the NFL. Don't worry, you can catch up anytime, anywhere on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels.
And we will provide.
All right, so enjoy the baseball as it finished up the last couple weeks of their season. If you're in the WNBA, you can watch that as well on ESPN. I know Champions League for soccer starts tomorrow, so early round robin games there, and so much more. For Sid, I'm LaKeena. You guys enjoy all the sports, and just be careful out there and be good to each other. This is Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. We'll see you guys on Friday.
Go Sox! Holla!